Well, we were really excited to have this opportunity to share Finding Your Roots with teachers. It's such a delightful program that's been on PBS for 8 seasons now, hosted by Henry Louis Gates. You can watch it on Montana PBS on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. You can also stream it on watch.montanapbs.org. And you can find teaching resources for using it in your classroom on our website, PBS Learning Media. I'm not going to show the clip on slide 8, but this is the trailer for the newest season and highlight some of the celebrities that have been showcased on this season. It started in January and it continues into May every week with new episodes. But I am going to show this resource from our website, pbslearningmedia.org. As I said last week, the collection for season 8 hasn't been published on PBS Learning Media yet. But that's okay because there's still 7 seasons worth of lesson materials on the website that are definitely worth exploring and looking at. And so the one I wanted to show you today can be navigated. You can get to it from the link in the slides on the notes section, or the image is also linked. So I'm going to go to it right here. And I'm just going to show the video. It features Queen Latifah, and it's talking about her family lineage and her roots in that of her family members who were enslaved. And she makes a really interesting discovery about one of her ancestors. So
we had already taken Queen Latifah back more than 200 years on her father's family tree, introducing her to her 5th great-grandmother, a woman named Jiggy Owens, who was living as a free person of color in Virginia as early as 1831. Now we wanted to find out if Jiggy was born into freedom or slavery. The answer lay in the estate records of a man named Thomas Keeling, a white planter who died sometime around 1770.
His wife is entitled to 1/5 of the slaves, the names of whom are as follows, to wit: Will, Louis, Charles, Sam, Jane, Ruth, Jug.
Recognize any name there?
That's Juggy right there.
That is Juggy, listed as property in Thomas Keeling's estate records. So we know from that document that your 5th great-grandmother was born into slavery.
Right.
And became free.
Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine? Did you ever think much about your ancestors' experiences during slavery?
I have a bit. Seeing roots was tough. Yeah. And it's made me make certain choices with my acting career.
Like what?
Just parts I don't want to play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, parts I will not play.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's really deep because wow, what they must have gone through.
Yeah.
It makes me want to cry.
Juggy's owner, Thomas Keeling, was a tobacco farmer. His family's home, built around 1735, still stands today. Latifah's ancestors almost certainly worked here, or out in Keeling's fields, picking tobacco. And it's likely that they would have continued to do so for decades more had it not been for the decision of one woman. Would you please read the transcribed portion?
Being conscientious of the injustice and impropriety of holding my fellow creature in state of slavery, I do hereby emancipate and set free. No way. No way. One Negro woman named Jug, who is about 28 years old, to be immediate free after this day, October 1st, 1792. Mary Old. Oh my God. Tingling right now.
You're looking at the moment that your family became free.
Now, how did Mary Old get a hold?
She was a neighbor of the Keeling family, Mary Old. We don't know how she came to own Juggy.
I mean, I could barely read it. I mean, what must that have been like to get this, to know this, to know that you are free?
Yeah.
Like, what must she have been thinking at that time?
You know, on September 30th, 1792, she was a slave.
Yep,
The next day,
she was
she was free. All because this woman, she
Yes.
decided that it was morally wrong. She goes, you know, this stinks, and I'm gonna do something about it.
Yep. It's all at once ridiculous and just so important. The fact that a piece of paper should hold that much weight on a human life is ridiculous. But it's so important that we care. People still think that one person can't make a difference. One person made a difference
Oh, big time.
to my whole entire family line. Mary Old, one person made a difference to my entire family line. That's crazy.
All right, so that was the clip featuring Queen Latifah and talking about her lineage. And then if you come over here to the support materials, there's some background reading, an activity that goes along with this. But if you click on and expand the support materials, there's also some discussion questions and things like that. This activity here, I wanted to just highlight this because I thought it was really, it would be an interesting thing to do that could link to our digital storytelling idea. If you come down here to the third part, where most students are familiar with famous abolitionists like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, but who else could they research? What other famous African Americans could they research? And they've given a couple of suggestions of people that students could research and possibly learn more about their story and create some kind of a digital project sharing about that person. But I also wanted to share back on our slides in the notes section, if you visit the Historical Society, the Montana Historical Society's website, they have a whole page about the history of African Americans in Montana. And there was a very small presence, there has been a very small presence, but a presence nonetheless of Black African American people that have lived in Montana and have been part of the history. And all of that is in detail on this website. If you come to this for teachers section, you can find some of these lesson plans that the Montana Historical Society has created. But they've also, in the main page here, they have a nice breakdown of the history with a timeline, some of the newspapers that feature stories about these, as well as, I think it's back, I think I got lost here, back in the teachers section. Here we go, the profiles of African American Montanans. And this is a PDF lesson plan, but it features a PowerPoint that describes different people in Montana who are African American and shows their pictures and tells a little bit about them. And I thought, what a wonderful thing to do to watch this clip and really think about her reaction to learning about how her life has been changed because Mary Old freed her ancestor. And then learn more about our own people in our own state that maybe have similar stories or even more interesting stories than that. Let me open it up though. I feel like I just babbled on there. Tell me what you were thinking about when you watched that clip and anything that came up for you and any classroom connections you may have thought of as you were listening to her learn more about her story.
When I was listening to it, Nikki, the thing that stuck out to me was her emphasis on how one person can make a difference and can make a huge difference in people's lives. And so that's something that I think can translate to a lot of things that we talk about in class or talk about when we talk about our community.
Mhm.
That's what stood out to me.
Mhm. I thought that stuck too, with like, people don't think one person can make a difference. And this was a huge difference, a decision that this woman made, that made a huge difference for the generations ahead of her. Anybody else have anything to comment on that one? Oh, Melissa's put in the chat box. Love how she messaged, one person can make a difference. One woman made the difference for the future lives of like 4 to 5 generations. Yep. And when you look at the success that Queen Latifah has had in her own career and the things she's been able to do, and the work she's done, I think that's pretty amazing. Whether you're a fan of her work or not, she's still been successful. Great compliment to student family trees. I'm always struck by that language of ownership of people and how shocking that is. But I also always thought it was really important for kids to see that the primary source that they uncover there of, leaving slaves in a will the same way that you would leave property to someone. It's like, I think that's a really important way to teach about that time in history to all students. Any other connections or things you want to share? Thanks for those of you who wrote in the chat box. I appreciate it. Turning points, like when one family member makes a monumental move. There are things more subtle too, like maybe when one family member chooses to move across the country to another state and sets up home, and suddenly that family lives in that state, and what a huge turning point that can be. So I think looking at those kinds of decisions and big choices can be an interesting way to look at things.
Nikki, one thing that kind of struck me with that is, in this particular instance, we know this one person and the impact that it had for all of those families. But if that woman felt that way, it was probably not because of just that one person she felt that towards. So I kind of wonder, like, where in her life did whatever about her life change, and how did that affect other people as well? Like, did she free other slaves? She's raised in a culture that this is, what you did. You own slaves. That was an aspect of your wealth, of your authority, of all of those things. So what in her life, changed her opinion to not be what she was most likely raised in? And then how did that affect more than just the one individual, which in turn affected generations of people?
It was probably not just a single act of bravery. There were probably others, definitely, or why. Good points. Good points. Well, Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you now. And if you want to share the slides and get into the digital storytelling piece, like I was saying, I think there's so many options for when we start to think about these ideas, and we want kids to wrap their brains around them and start explaining them in their own words and making those connections. Giving them a tool like WeVideo, the one that Sarah's going to share, has endless potential for letting kids show us what they know, and create a product that can last forever too, which is really cool. So Sarah, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll have to forgive me. You're going to see a lot of the side of my face here. I have a bigger screen in front of me that I'm working off. My laptop's kind of over here to the side. So I'll try and kind of switch back and forth. But let me go ahead and pick up where Nikki left off here. So, when we consider digital storytelling, there are a lot of different ways that we can do this. As you've probably been working through other media labs, she has here like photo collage and audio and comic book and ebook and, all of those ways. Today, what I'll be taking a look at is video through the tool of WeVideo. But I also, because of the way that WeVideo works, like there's other things like podcasting is another great way of building digital storytelling. And WeVideo does have these kinds of options in it. And so that's another a part of this as far as, you know, video goes with digital storytelling. So WeVideo is a tool I actually really got into about a year and a half-ish ago. And in my experiences with teachers, I haven't necessarily personally used it outside of newscasting or outside of audio recording. Like that's what I have the most experience in. So as far as projects go, I don't have a specific project that I'm necessarily going to show you. Although I feel like even as Nikki was showing us those videos, my wheels were turning. So I was like, oh man, like this, you know, as a technology integration specialist, I go into other people's classrooms to work with them on projects. And it's really nice to have a resource like PBS Learning Media and, you know, a content like Finding Roots, because I'm able to take these kinds of things to teachers and say, hey, would you be interested in this? And so hopefully like I'll be able to take kind of these pieces. So I'm learning as well in Media Lab, which is fun. However, in thinking about the uses for WeVideo and what they can be used for in relation to Finding Your Roots, you can make newscasts, podcasts. You can use this for interviews. Vlogging is another thing I think is a possibility. And then it does make GIFs. I put that in there just because it is a piece to the tool, and you can see that when you're creating, you can create a video, a recording, a GIF, or a podcast. But I having a hard time kind of wrapping my head around what kind of a GIF would you use for Finding Your Roots. It would be very short, but it might be a fun introduction. So the one thing I would say with WeVideo, if you want like a little tester for how this tool works with your students, maybe try it with GIFs, because it's pretty low stakes and it's, you know, it's not too difficult to put one together. However, in terms of what you might use WeVideo for, family tree projects, I think really come to mind. As you mentioned in the chats, that's oftentimes what we go to when we think about trying to find our roots. And I think this can look a variety of different ways, and using video to tell that project is one way. I also see it really helpful in community engagement projects. If you are having students dive in to aspects of the community, getting involved in maybe really important projects that are happening, or even diving into your local history. WeVideo is a really great way of doing that because of the editing possibilities. I personally in my classroom had done veteran interviews, and this was kind of a big piece to a lot of students' lives because they have family members who've served in the military. So they oftentimes find their roots in that way. And we've done projects, like I have done projects in the past where my students have interviewed veterans, and I could see where WeVideo could be used for that. And then I also was kind of thinking just like in terms of student-led learning and student exploration, maybe a take on an iSearch project if you wanted to focus an iSearch project in the realm of like of a student finding their roots. So those were just some ideas of how you might use what you might do to use WeVideo in a classroom. However, WeVideo is a pretty big tool, so most of what I'll be talking about is how to use that tool. The first thing that I like to mention, however, with WeVideo, we subscribe to it at our middle school, and that's how we have access to it. I think it's good for you to know what you're getting into with it. The free version is pretty scaled down. And this was definitely one of those tools that during COVID, they opened it up and gave a lot of free versions of it and really pulled you in. And the tool itself is a fantastic tool, and it really is worth all the money that you might pay for it. However, to go from having it for free and having all of that to now paying for it, you know, that's the challenge with what we're seeing with tools. So I'd like you to at least see kind of where you go from the free version to what you really can do with it more so if you pay for it. And I'm not a salesman when it comes to this, but I want you to understand that like you can see the publish time is 5 minutes a month. And that is not a lot of time when you're building projects. So However, if this is something that maybe your school has a few extra COVID dollars, definitely take a look at maybe seeing if you can get into the paid version. So the first thing, and I'm going to bounce back and forth between the actual tool and how to use it by starting with the editor. But what I will say is if you click on, just a second, let me jump back in here. If you click on the We video portion here, it is linked directly to the tool. And if you wanted to sign up for a free version right now, they do give you a 30-day trial period for it, where you can use most of the advanced features. And so you can go ahead and kind of jump into, at least for the next 30 days, the advanced features and test it out, see if you like it. So the first place when you're jumping into We video that you go into is you're going to go into an editor. And when you, of course, I'm timed out. When you go into the editor, that's the first place that you want to go. But when you go into the editor, just a second. I'm in an editor right now. No, okay. This is the editor right here. So you'll have to forgive me. I was going to try and show you how to go into the editor, but I'll do that after I show you what the editor is for anybody that has questions. Essentially, you do have to start by creating a project, and that's creating a project is this right here. You'll be in like the dashboard or the home page, and you can create a project. And by doing that, whether it's a video, a recording, a GIF, or a podcast, it drops you into the editor. Now, I pulled up one of the videos that I have edited myself so that you can kind of see what it looks like when you're pulling media and pieces into it. But once you're in the editor, this is where you start to select certain things. So your videos are going to allow you to choose a video that you drag and drop into the editor. Your images are just that, a really just flat piece that you can put in there. In my video 4, you'll see I have a logo in here. This is just an image that I have extended so that the image will show the length of the length of whatever I want my video to be. Then you can drag and drop audio. What's nice about We video is that it has a lot of stock footage, a lot of stock images, and a lot of stock audio. Once you really get into kind of those premium aspects of it, but it does have some even in your free versions. And you can even search for audio. Like I can type in tiger roar and not tiger roar. How about just a roar? And it will pull up various different roars. So apparently I could get a dinosaur roar before a tiger roar, or a cougar roar before a tiger roar. But it will give you all sorts of clips that you are able to take these and you are able to drag them and drop them into the bottom here. Now, also in the editor portion, you can see here's where you get any kind of stock images that you drop in, or stock anything that you drop in. On the side here, it will show you a preview. And when you actually click on the image or the audio, it gives you a, there we go. It gives you a preview of that specifically. Once you're in the editor itself, you can come back to your own video and you can do a preview in this box right here. So that's your preview box. The audio 1, video 2, video 3, video 4, these are your layers. So this is where you're going to start building and piecing together the edits. I will tell you the order matters quite a lot. The bigger the number in terms of your layers, the more to the front that image or that layer is. So as you can see I'm going to go ahead and play this right here. This logo right here and all the edits that I did to that singular layer are the first thing that you see, and it's over the top of a transparent purple layer here. And then this is an animation, and this is actually a stock animation. You can type in news, anything that you want, and you can get its own previous animated pieces, which means you don't have to worry about making the animations yourself, which is really nice for students because as students are first starting to do any kind of video editing, programs like Premiere can be pretty complicated for them, especially in the younger grades. And WeVideo kind of simplifies that a little bit more while still giving them the creative control that they kind of crave, which is nice. These other pieces here, like your text, allow you to put text over the top of your images. And you can see these are black, and anything that is colored, the black means that there's nothing behind it. So it's going to show up over the top of whatever you're working on. And then the colors and things like that, the motion piece right there says that it moves in some way, so your text can be animated as well. The transitions allow you to build from one thing to the next kind of movement, and whether it's a fade or a cross dissolve or, you know, flipping into something or blurring or whatever, it allows you to build that from one clip to the other, because in the timeline itself, this is where you start to add things. So even though you may have layers over the top of each thing, you are able to add more to the timeline so that it can fade into something else. And I have another example that I'll kind of show you for that. I want to double check my slide and make sure I'm not forgetting anything under the editing. Oh, okay, I am just a little bit. So we got through content. So in terms of recording features, which is really, really nice to be able to do, you are able to, you're able to click on this button right here and add. And when you add that, that adds a layer, and it asks you whether you are doing a video or a text or whether you're adding an audio. When you go into something like your audio, this is where you're able to start adding an audio layer. Let's go ahead and do it really quick. There we go, add a track. So going into your audio layer would allow you to say, come into your audio, drop something down. However, you're also able to record. So if we go into My Media, which means you're going to create the media yourself, you're able to record a video. And if I click on this, I'm able to either use my webcam, or I'm able to screencast, or I'm able to do both, where I can screencast and embed the webcam. I'm able to narrate, which is where you create a voiceover of whatever, and that's going to drop it into, it'll actually probably create it and drop it into a new layer. You're able to import, and importing is really helpful. Let's say that you have students that are recording on an iPad, or they're recording on their phone, their own video, and they want to start adding it to WeVideo for the editing part. You're going to hit import, and then it's going to allow you to select where you want to import from. Down here, you can see you can import from Google, you can import from Dropbox, you can import from Microsoft. You can also pull it off of your computer, which is browse to select, so that'll pull it straight off of your computer. Obviously, if they're recording on their phone, I definitely suggest, as you are doing this, that you have something set up for them ahead of time to store it, because that's a big piece for students. If they don't have somewhere that they can import it in, it gets kind of messy where they're like, well, I don't know how to get it from my phone to the computer or something like that. Now, WeVideo does have apps for iPads, and it does have apps for the phone. But honestly, the best that I've seen in terms of working in this is on a laptop, whether it's a PC or a MacBook. I haven't seen much difference. There's a little bit of difference in the Chromebooks, but it's not terrible either. The iPad just has in the app on the iPad, it just has a lot of restriction and it's a little bit harder to navigate. So we did it when we would build these, we would do them on laptops. So those are kind of the features that exist within the editor. The next thing I kind of want to show you is how you can get into bringing your media in, using stock videos, showing you the variety that's there, and then kind of just the drag and drop of how you build something like this. So I'm going to show you this one. Oh, not this one. This one. So in this video here, you can see I have multiple layers. It's a really short video. I'm going to go ahead and play it for you. And then I'm going to show you how you can, just like pull pieces together. So in that video, while it seems really silly, it does a few of the features that you can do with this, and I wanted you to be able to see that. First of all, the image is that I pulled in is actually a video from the stock footage, and you can see it right here. It's 19 seconds of just cars passing by a billboard. But what I liked about it, and the reason I pulled it in, is it also had a green screen, which means I'm able to add letters and put something behind it. That having been said, you definitely have to make sure that whatever is going to be on the top needs to be the last layer. Okay, so in the case of video 3, which is where you're seeing the cars move and everything, that's where that had to be. And then I simply drug in. So I just took this. We'll go ahead and delete this so you can see. But I just take it from here and I pull it into my timeline and I drop it into my timeline and then it exists. Now in this case, what you can see here is because I replaced it, my green screen is back up. So when you're doing green screen, you just double click on the image, and this is how you actually edit the images once they're in there. And I go into, where are you? Green screen, I think you're this one. Yep. And you do something that's called color keying. And that is where you choose the color that you want to eliminate and it'll remove it. So you click your little dropper and then you click on your green screen, whatever it is that's green, and it removes the green screen. And then you're able to just work with, what you want to show through in that. I like this. It's super simple. Students, all you have to know is where to find this piece. And because it's just double clicking on the image that you want to edit, you're able to edit just that layer and just that image. And then we're going to go back in here. Oh, sorry. Do it again. All of my videos are hiding my features. So I got to move you guys. There we go. All right, and then you hit save. And then that brings back that. Now this I want candy is simply the text. And so all I did was, you can see it's right in here, and I didn't even change the words, but I just drug it down and then edited it. Now you can see like this little billboard has such a small area. You do have to edit the actual words once you get them there. So when you double click on them, you're able to, this box is around my words and I was able to shrink it, and you can see I'm able to move it where I want it to be, even though it's a clip. And that's how you edit this one. And this is text, so you can also change your color palette here. You can change it to say whatever you want it to say. You can even go into here and rotate it and flip it and do all sorts of fun things with that text. But what's nice about text is you don't spend a lot of time editing text. You can change the type of font that it is. You can change the size. You can do all of that in this pretty simple editor right there. And that's as you double click on it. Then I chose for the very back part of it, because you can see that I already had the background removed. I chose a background. So I just went into backgrounds, and you can see I picked what was right on the top, and I just pulled it in, and you drop it. Now, each of the backgrounds have a length. So in this case, because it kind of has a little like glitter to it, like that seems to be moving around, you can see the time frame there tells you how long, and you want to pay attention to those types of things up here with your timeline here, so that as you're building and you're shifting and you're moving things, you're able to kind of get it to a length that you want. The other thing that you're able to do with these is you are able to fade, and you're able, so you can fade one into the other, or you're able to add transitions. This right here, this is a transition, and I chose just a crossfade, so it would just move from the one thing to the other. So I'll even play it from right here, and you can see it switch. And it just really quickly does that fade. Now the last thing is my sound here. And when you click on the sound, or even when you're clicking on the fade or the transparency, this tiny little edit bar right here allows you to open your options. So when I clicked that, you can see down at the bottom of my screen here, I had added a fade, and the fades are really easy to add, which is another thing that I really like about this is you click in one place, and you can choose in that one place where you want to fade something, right? And if you want to fade it in a different way or in a quicker manner, you can add another point so that you can fade it completely out. And like, this is just how it moves. And that's something that's kind of nice, because like with music, we want there to be nice transitions, and we want them to, you know, be smooth. We want to transition from one thing into another smoothly. And the fading in and out of that really allows us to do that. It also allows us to clip it. So you can clip whatever. So if I wanted to say cut my audio for I Love Candy, I can hit this clip right here, and those scissors, wherever they are, those scissors will clip it. So like if I go and let's say I'm playing it here, and I wanted to stop it right there after it said candy, I'd be able to stop it in my preview, know that this is where I want to clip it, because that's where I heard the need for the clip. And then I just hit that. And then you click on the section that you want deleted, and you just delete. You'll have to forgive me, because all of my editing for this is underneath the Zoom bar. So that makes it a little bit more complicated in terms of that. So that's just kind of a little bit of the process. There are a lot of nuances to this. So what I did in terms of some of the other things that you can do, like for example, you can add the Ken Burns effect, where you take, you know, an image and you zoom into different perspectives on the image. And I know that we were going to run out of time, and I want you to be able to play with it. So I did add a video here that was a really nice explanation of the Ken Burns effect and how you can use video for that. The other thing is you can produce rolling credits pretty easily in this program. And so this is a video that kind of explains rolling credits. And the same concept behind rolling credits is how in this image right here, these two images, you're able to see this is a logo. It's just an image, but I was able to make that image get bigger as I wanted it to be zoomed in. And that's a part of the same Ken Burns or rolling credits effect. If you watch these videos, it'll show you how to make those images a little bit bigger. In terms of resources for building videos or doing any of these kinds of projects, the one thing that I will say is having students start from a place of understanding prior to filming, prior to editing, all of those things, it really is a good idea to have them brainstorm, to have them plan out what they want to do, especially when it comes to filming, because otherwise students will film over and over and over again because they have no plan and they don't like what is there. So I did add a little storyboard worksheet. It's pretty simple, but you can create a copy and get this into your Google, and then you can add more details to it however you want. You're able to change it up, but it's just like boxes where they can draw out scenes for if they're building a video, what they want to film. And then there's a little, like in the boxes each, there's a little space for them to maybe add either their script or to add like a list of their props. And like I said, it's pretty simplistic because I wanted you to just have a starting point and for you to build however you wanted to build in terms of doing, you know, just some setup to filming. The filming guide here is one that we just used. We had, when we built newscasts in the 6th grade, we did weather newscasts in the 6th grade. I did that with a teacher here in Livingston. And when we did that, we wanted there to be at least one kid that seemed to be a little bit more techie that could help their peers. And so we built a guide for how those tech leaders could kind of set up projects. And that, what that did for the students was it allowed them to have at least one person that was making sure that each thing kind of happened in the group and knew how WeVideo worked. And so we gave them just kind of a guide for helping their peers. This is a link to a WeVideo editing guide that we also use. So it's a slide deck on how to edit within WeVideo that we showed students. And so I just made a copy of that for all of you. If that was something, if you're new to video projects and would like a starting point, this is a good one. The top, however, are tools that I every time I do something with Nikki, I'm sure she's tired of hearing me like praise remove BG, but remove BG is the best tool, the simplest tool I have ever seen, and it has saved my bacon so many times. So all it is it is a way to remove a solid background so that you can take an image and turn it into more of a vector, more of, you know, without the background so that you can manipulate it however you want. So like I used, sorry about that. I used the logo that I made to show you, like originally this had a white background, but when all it is a file upload, and to remove BG, then you hit a button and it turns it into that, which has saved me so much time in editing. Like I am familiar with Photoshop. I know how to use a lot of different editing tools in order to make this happen, but remove BG is instantaneous and it will save you so much time. And the other one I want to talk to you about with a few caveats. The I love candy that I used in that video that just was kind of showing you how everything worked. That is a YouTube clip. And as long as you are only using clips of things, you're not violating copyright. It is music sampling. It is not going to, you know, it's not going to get you in trouble. And I would recommend only using clips. But you are able to take a YouTube video with this YouTube converter, and you're able to just extract the sound from the YouTube video and then turn it into an MP3. And as long as you're only using sections of it in wherever you're putting it, it's sampling, you're not going to violate copyright. Please don't use the entire of anything because that is a violation of copyright, especially if you're using it for financial gain. But most of us as teachers are not doing that. We're using it in the classroom. And so this is a really nice tool. As you could tell when I typed in, I want a tiger roar, and I couldn't get a tiger roar. But if I'm building something specific that I need a tiger's roar and not a lion or a cougar, I could search for something on YouTube and extract a portion of that roar and then add that to whatever it is that I'm trying to do. And what's nice about something like that is if you pull it into WeVideo, regardless of whatever the size is, you're able to condense it down to just a small clip. You're able to condense it down to just a small clip. So like I said, with the I Love Candy audio that was right here, I took 3 seconds of that audio. And when I pulled it from YouTube, it was 2 minutes. So I was able to, chop it by simply isolating where I wanted my start and stop to be and using this piece. So like if I play and, hit here, oh, I'm sorry, I'm still in editing. I'm still in my editor. Let's see, where are you at? I am not able to get out of it. Yes, I am if I do this. There. So then I can just wherever I stop it, I can hit these scissors and then isolate the section, whatever I want. Maybe I just want to get rid of this part and I can just delete it and then it removes it. You will notice like when you delete something, you do have to start pushing pieces together and so forth. There we go. So I think, Nikki, that's about all of what I wanted to show, simply because I just wanted there to be time for people to work on things and ask questions as they go. Is there anything else that you wanted me to talk about?
No, I think that was good. And I think, yeah, you're right. Let's give everybody about 15 minutes to play around. And remember last week when we did Apple Clips with Tracy, we urged you to just make something ridiculous. Don't worry about creating a product that's going to win an award or even anything you'd show your kids. Although I like showing my kids my ridiculous stuff because the ultimate result was, well, I can do better than that. So just take some time and open up WeVideo if you have to minimize us or find another device if you have one handy. Bring it up and play with that film strip and dragging and dropping things in there and hit the play button and see what happens. And then Sarah and I'll be here if you want to ask questions or you get turned around or you want something. I will add, so this is, WeVideo looks a lot like most video editing platforms. So the industry standard that they use here at Montana PBS is called Adobe Premiere. It looks very similar to this. You got your film strips at the bottom, you got your box at the top where you can see things, and then you got your media on the other side. So you get kids started with a tool like WeVideo and they get into it and they learn how to navigate it, they may find themselves using more advanced tools later on with a lot more ease. If you're an Apple user, the Apple version of this is iMovie, which comes on all Mac devices, iPads, iPhones, and Macs. And we do plan to have a workshop on iMovie in the weeks ahead. And we've got Ann Brecker, who's just like a rock star in all things Apple, but who's going to show us specifically how to use iMovie. You'll notice some similarities between the tools. They look very much the same. So it can be a little intimidating at first, looking at all those pieces and all those layers. But I just encourage you to get in and play with it and try and break it. That's what I always tell people. And then we'll try and fix it again. So,
and I will say there's very rare that things cannot be undone by Control Z. I mean, just hit Control Z and it comes right back usually. And I will say, like, to really what Nikki was saying, at our school, at middle school, they use WeVideo. And when they come in, to our business classes where we do a lot of multimedia work in our business department, they're using Premiere and they are definitely well prepared for it. And I think kind of one of the reasons that WeVideo is so useful comes down to the stock footage that's in there. Like, it really helps to be able, so please play around with the stock footage and the stock audio and all of those things.
So as you know, we have partners in this project, the Montana Historical Society and Humanities Montana, and this information on slide 18 is the same. I shared earlier up after our clips in that notes section of the slides, about some resources you can find on the MHS page about African Americans in Montana. So be sure to check those out. But I always want to share our partner resources because we're really excited that they've been helping us bring people to these workshops and helping us find the materials that might help you to continue these kinds of projects with your students. Next week, Sarah Rainey will be our presenter. In fact, she'll be our presenter for the next 2 weeks. Next week, she's going to teach us about digital comics with Pixton. And the week after that, she'll teach us about Do Ink doing more green screen video projects with green screen. Not just video, photo projects can be done with that one too. So thank you so much for coming. I will be in touch with credits and video recording and all that good stuff, and we'll send you on your way. So have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you next time.